Yes. Yeah, yeah. All right, guys. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that song. Typically, we play Afro pop in here, but figured I'd switch it up today and give you guys some Dom Dolla. Not sure if you guys like EDM, but in case you guys do like that song, it is Rhyme Dust by Dom Dolla. Definitely such a hit. But all right, guys, welcome back to another episode of WebB Academy. Super excited to have you guys all here. Unfortunately, Andrew will not be joining us today, but he will be joining us on next week's episode, so no worries on that. The topic that we have today was highly, highly requested by all of you. And as always, guys, we are happy to deliver, right? So today we're diving into something that so many people in this space ask about. How do you actually break into crypto and land that first role? So, whether you're just curious or you might be ready to go full time crypto, this conversation is going to be packed with a lot of useful information for you guys. We always try to bring forward the most educative, most informative information so that you guys have the right tools to kind of like um, just make the best decisions in the space, right? So today we are joined by Blockchain Azza, aka King Aaron. He actually asked me to call him that before the space. So anybody here, you got to address him by King Aaron when you come up. He's not only a Web3 recruiter, but he's also the host of Web3 Insights podcast. He actually interviews lots of leaders across the entire ecosystem, from anything from ordinals and inscriptions to zero knowledge proof technology, and honestly, so much more. If you guys haven't tuned into his podcast, I highly recommend it. You guys will learn a lot of information. He's pretty much got the inside scoop on what employers are looking for, how to stand out, how to shift your mindset from feeling like an outsider to becoming a builder, and so much more. So these are the topics that we're going to dive into. We're going to talk about finding your niche, what these employers are looking for, how to stand out. Kind of like we obviously all have imposter syndrome in a variety of different ways. So we're going to talk a little bit about that mindset shifts. Going from being like a lurker to being a builder, so on and so forth. Right. Welcome, Aaron. With that, let's dive in. How are you doing, my friend? So good to have you on the space.
I'm good. Thank you for the intro. And by the way, you don't have to refer to me as King Azza or King Aaron.
Are you sure about
That was
that?
just yes. No, that was just a little April Fool's joke from me to Claire before
I
this
got you.
meeting.
I got you.
But no, thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here, and yeah, it's a pleasure to be able to share my insights and hopefully be able to yeah, help people in their next career move.
Absolutely, my friend. Yeah, we're just so grateful to have you, and you're such an asset to this space. So I honestly really can't wait to kind of like dive into your mind here and just get more information regarding some like pretty important topics. Do you want to just give us like a quick introduction of yourself, who you are, what you do, and then we can just dive into like some of the topics for today?
Yeah, sure. So, a bit of background. So, I have been in recruitment for the last 10 years. Started off in general Web2 recruitment, recruiting a lot, predominantly within the .NET and Java world. And then, did that for about 4 years, entered a small startup as the first company's hire. And do you know what? And I always love telling this story. I just so happened to fall into crypto in the world of Web3, and I love telling this story because it's important. And this is part of the message that I like to send out in the podcast. Is like, it doesn't matter what background or experience you've got. Like, now's as good as time to get into Web3 and crypto as any. And I just fell into it. Um, I started working for this startup. I just so happened to pick up a client within the UK, which was a small crypto exchange, and they were hiring several developers, etc. And then, I realized that there was a bit of a gap in the market, and I was like, hey, there's not many recruiters doing this. at this sort of day and age. So I like to consider myself as one of the OGs when it comes to recruitment in Web3. And at that point, I started heavily focusing and just focused all my energies within Web3 recruitment. And here I am today, 6 years later. So yeah, that's my story. 8 months ago, I started the podcast. I was in between jobs. I left that first company that I was at, moved to a new company, and sort of during that time, I had 5 weeks off. During those 5 weeks, after being at home with two kids and my wife full time, I was like, I need to get my head down in something. So I wanted to. I would as an always had an idea to start a podcast, and given my network, I wanted to provide a podcast that gave insights to not just people in the Web3 space, but also Web2, and hopefully showcase to the audience that, again, now's as good time as ever, and show people's different stories into the space. So, yeah, that's me.
I love it. I love it. I love that I love that you're so honest about that too, where it's like you can really just kind of like jump into crypto and like find a job here. Like that's very much like a possibility. You know, it was kind of the same thing with me where it was like I was obviously just like I would say I was kind of like a lurker, you know, I was just like, very interested in the space. And then I just started like helping out. You know, I was within like a bunch of different communities. I just started helping out just because like I was super passionate about the job, or sorry, about the community. And then from there it was like boom, crypto job. And that's kind of like how I got started too. It was like I didn't have a crypto background. I didn't know I didn't know a lot of cryptocurrency like terminology. I didn't know about the infrastructure and the technical intricacies and all of that that's involved. But I kind of managed to, it kind of manages to just fall into my lap. And like, that's kind of like the reality of like the crypto space. I feel like you can literally have like a traditional background and then find yourself working in the cryptocurrency space, like regardless of that. It's very kind of like forgiving in that manner, I feel like. So thank you for sharing that information. And uh also, for those of you, you guys don't actually know this, but Aaron actually got me the head of community position at Bitcoin OS. So it is because of Aaron that I'm actually here, which is, yeah, forever thankful to Aaron. I owe my life to Aaron. I've already told him this several times. He changed my life, guys. So Aaron isn't just some random like recruiter in the space. Like he's very, credible. He has a major background in the space. He's definitely placed a lot of successful candidates. So he's genuinely a superhero for us all, right? Like we're so grateful of this, especially in a job market that is very unforgiving right now. Like honestly, like the job market is extremely tough. If you're out there looking for a job, you know what it's like. Like you will be unemployed for like 6, 7, 8 months at a time. I hope that's not the case for you guys, but honestly, that is pretty much like what we're looking at the moment. That's pretty much what people are experiencing. Wouldn't you say, Aaron, that that's kind of like the general consensus right now?
Yeah, I think so. It's an interesting space right now. You know, coming out the back of Christmas and New Year's, I think not only myself but everyone else that I speak to was expecting the whole space to just catapult, and especially from a hiring front. When I speak to recruiters and even recruiters across industry and people from other organizations, I think we're all expecting the same thing, but that wasn't the case. Um, and for one reason or another, it's not. But I think, and this is where I think this conversation is so important, because what we need to make sure that we consider and ensure that we consider is, like, if we want to get a job in this space, if we're outside of the space, then how do we go about doing that? And how do we differentiate ourselves? But also, like, how do you go about searching for that type of opportunity? Because that's incredibly important. And like Claire, like, using you as an example, You know, when you know you and I sort of had these first conversations, and we were talking about sort of you entering this space, like you had an incredible passion for this space and an incredible understanding for this space. And if you don't mind me saying, but probably compared to a lot of people, maybe slightly a lack of experience, but I believed in you and I knew your knowledge was exceptional, of the space. And plus, your numbers outside of Web3 and in Web2 was like, you know, spoke for themselves. So, you know, that sort of made that difference. So I think, and this is what I want to sort of delve into in this conversation is like, how do you sort of stand out from the rest of the crowd? So yeah, hopefully that's what sort of will explain through this conversation.
No, absolutely. And I'm glad that you shared that because prior to Bitcoin OS, guys, I was working in Web 2 for roughly 2-ish years. And prior to that, I had been working in the Web3 space with a e-learning cryptocurrency course and community. Prior to that, I was working with like a couple like projects like established on the Binance Smart Chain network. But like in totality, like if you actually look at it, like my experience, I would say was still limited, right? Like Web3 space continues to change. We know this. It continues to evolve literally month after month after month. And if you're not like full time in the space, you can honestly like fall behind. So like Aaron said, like for like the last like couple of years, I've been in the Web 2 space, even though I was still very much like on a personal level in Web 3, right? But that's still not it's still not enough sometimes. But like Aaron said, he kind of like saw like my passion. He looked at like my numbers. He looked at the way that I presented myself, and from that, he basically like what would you say, Aaron? Like how would you kind of like express that? Like how like what would you say like made me stand out to you like in particular?
hmm Um, yeah, great question. So I think what you've got to understand is you've got to find, firstly, you've got to find like a really good recruiter because, you know, I'm not blowing my own trumpet here saying I'm a really good recruiter, but you've got to find that person that believes in you because if you don't find someone that believes in you, that's going to essentially find you a job, then you know it's all you're already fighting a battle. You know, when you and I spoke, Claire, obviously we had certain conversations and I asked you certain questions and I believed in you and I mirrored the two very well together. And this is one of the sticking points I think within this industry at the moment is you know, there's so many good and talented people in this world, but how can you portray that to a web3 business where let's say and you know bearing in mind to give you an example, I had two other candidates that were probably had 3 years experience in web3 and Claire beat all of them and outshone all of them, just purely because of her excellence and because of her passion and everything else. And you know I'll probably go back to this on several occasions throughout this conversation, but passion for me is worth more than any experience level can be.
That's amazing, Aaron, and man, you're really blowing up my ego here. I gotta stay humble after this conversation. Somebody's gotta somebody's gotta make sure I'm in line after this conversation, after this phase. But no, I love that. So I guess because we're already talking about like how to stand out in a crowded market, we can just keep like diving into that. Um, what would you say from, just what you've seen with candidates? What would you say are the specific things you're looking out for through like a stack of applicants or through a stack of applications? My bad.
Yeah, so you know this is it's a diverse question to answer, right? Because um, I want to talk across the board. So you know, naturally, as a Web3 recruiter, I work across developers, community, marketing, everything else. So firstly, and then most importantly, whatever specialism you're in. It's about finding your niche. A lot of people are overwhelmed trying to break into crypto because, they think it means being technical or learning code. But in reality, this space is made up of many niches, many specialisms. Um, you know, there's genuinely room for everyone. And the key is basically finding where your skills, interests, and curiosities align. So, firstly, start with curiosity. What part of Web3 excites you? Is it Bitcoin, DeFi, NFTs, zero knowledge tech, gaming, infrastructure? Whatever it is, find that area and go all in on that specific area, because sometimes I find, like, when people look at Web3, they think, oh, I want to get into Web3, and Web3 is a niche in its own, but the reality is that it's not. Also, you don't have to know everything. Like, it's more powerful to go deep in one thing than to say on a surface level, I know this and I know that across sort of every area. So go deep, is my advice, but also learn by doing. Use DeFi apps, play Web3 games, mint NFTs, run testnet nodes. Join discords to give you context. But also as well, study roles that exist. So look at org charts, or maybe job boards. You'll see roles in marketing, compliance, governance, ecosystem, product, community, and more. And use that as your platform to then be able to define the areas that you want to go in. um, I've placed candidates into protocol teams, DAOs, startups who didn't come from traditional tech, but they had deep interest and engagement in a niche. um, you know there was this one candidate who was absolutely obsessed with NFTs, and they got the job managing partnerships for a minting platform. And their niche became their superpower. So, um, yeah, that would be my advice: is like, find your niche and focus in on it.
No, that's absolutely amazing advice for sure. So basically, finding your niche, just being really good at your niche, becoming really passionate about your niche, and then kind of like highlighting that like throughout your application, right? Like so, maybe maybe being able to kind of like create like a portfolio out of that niche. Would you say would be beneficial?
Yeah, possibly. It could be a portfolio. I mean, I would like to come onto this in a bit more detail, but yeah, portfolio of your niche, or just being active on socials. If you're a tech guy, what are you doing? Can we see what you're doing on GitHub and what you're building? Um, yeah, all of
Yeah,
that.
no, absolutely. So kind of like focusing on like building your brand in in a sense. I think that obviously, yeah, like the
Essentially.
space like very much favors like all of our X accounts, right? Like how do we portray ourselves? How do we market ourselves? What kind of information do we share? I think especially coming from like a socials community marketing standpoint, these types of like elements are pretty important. And to actually tie this back into is to what we were talking about with Aaron before. My X account was honestly like pretty neglected before I joined Bitcoin OS. And like honestly, I had not been posting at all. My LinkedIn profile was dead. I had not been posting there as well. However, I was able to explain the reason for that, right? Because like I'm so the way that I am personally is like when I work with any kind of like employer, a job, person, whatever, it doesn't matter. Whoever I'm working with, I give them 110% of my creative energy. I give them 110% of everything. I didn't have time to kind of like build my own personal brand, right? Because I'm literally helping them, from 0 to 100. I'm doing everything I can on my end to build them, giving them my creative energy, giving them my creative thoughts. executing on those thoughts and everything that's kind of like involved in that. So I didn't necessarily have the time to be able to put that energy back into myself, but I was able to still simultaneously show, who I am, my skill sets through, through my achievements. And that pretty much like kind of like speaks for itself. Um, but no, these are great points, Aaron. I think that like this space is extremely vast. Finding your niche can 100% help, and just take your time. Just like, there's something for everybody in this space. And like he said, like you don't need to have technical knowledge to basically feel like, oh, if I don't have technical knowledge, I'm not going to get hired in this space. I promise you, I was not a technical person before joining Bitcoin OS. My technical understanding and knowledge has developed over time, but zero knowledge proof technology, who? What's that? I have no idea what that was. Trustless bridging systems, one event trust assumption, excuse me, what are these topics? I was so lost, but in due time, you like pick things up and you learn. And I came in with a non-technical understanding, and there was still space for me here. So that's kind of like the beauty about the space. There's something for everybody. Just take your time and kind of like put yourself out there and look for it, learn it, feel it, bring it all in. But no, that's great information, Aaron. I would so do you have like any tips for like crafting a portfolio or like a resume, something that can actually get the attention of these like Web3 employers?
Yeah. I mean, there's various things. It's difficult for me to again, expand on across various areas. It's not just about having experience in crypto; it's about demonstrating that you belong here. Web3 companies are looking for people who are engaged, self-starting, and Web3 native. Whether technical or non-technical. So proof of work, in my opinion, is like it's massive. In fact, it's everything. Um, this could be a GitHub repo, Twitter thread, content, and content for me is key, especially for the non-technical roles. Content is key. How active are you on X? How active are you on LinkedIn or whatever it may be? It could be DAO contributions or community involvement. There's like a number of different factors that can showcase your proof of work, especially if you're lacking that experience within the Web3 space or professional experience, should I say, within the Web3 space. Presence for me is greater than polish. A passionate community contributor is more attractive than a perfect CV with no engagement in the space. It's all about show, don't tell, if that makes
Yes.
sense. Like it's all about action for me. Don't just say that you're passionate about crypto. Show that you've used the product. Joined the Discord or written about it, for example. It's all about that Web3 native communication. Familiarity with async tools, or you're comfortable in Discord and Telegram and understanding meme culture. All of these little things can be a plus. Hiring managers consistently ask me, basically, is this person in the space? So many hiring managers ask me that, especially people that lack maybe that professional experience. Is like, is this person in the space? It's not about seniority at all in Web3. It's about showing you've made the leap from an outsider to participant. Even for senior hires, passion and alignment with mission matter so much more than a resume. 100%.
Yeah, no, that's solid advice. Actions definitely speak kind of louder than words in the space, that's for sure. That also goes for me too on a community standpoint because, we have a lot of people that request to be a moderator, that request to be a community manager, so on and so forth, to get involved, but they don't actually do anything. And I tell them that I'm like, hey, listen, like we are giving the most active community members the moderator role. We are giving the most active community members the community manager role, because actions speak louder than words. Don't just come to me and say, hey, I really love Bitcoin OS. I really love what you guys are doing. I want to be a moderator. Well, it's like, okay, that's fantastic. And thank you so much for your support and advocacy. But however, I don't see you in the trenches. I don't see you in the channels. I don't see you actually putting in the action that it takes to, help the community and navigate the community, answering questions. Like, these things speak volumes, my friends. So thank you for covering that, Aaron.
100%.
You would agree with that? Is that what you were about to say?
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. 100%. You're exactly right.
Absolutely. So I guess let's go back to like finding your niche, because we didn't really get a chance to like talk too much about that. Would you say that there's like any underrated niches or roles in Web3 that you think more people should be exploring?
Mm, great question. Not particularly, no. Like, it's difficult because, naturally I look at this myself from a recruitment perspective, like what niche within Web3 can I get into as a recruiter that maybe other recruiters aren't getting into, to be able to sort of differentiate myself from other businesses. Um, in all honesty, like I wouldn't pinpoint it on anything in particular. If I'm just being completely transparent, I would just say like the most. Sorry, and I'm just about to go into a loud room just to get my charger. Like I would just say the most important thing is to find your niche. Like I don't think that I wouldn't want to say that there's any particular niche that stands out more than anything else in Web3 at the moment, because everything, in my opinion, has potential. It's just what makes you tick. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, that's totally understandable.
I don't. It's difficult for me to say because I wouldn't want to pinpoint anything because there's so many niches within Web3 that I could probably highlight, but I don't think it's worth it because there's so many niches in Web3 that you could dip your toes in, that at the end of the day, no matter what you did, I just genuinely think no matter what you dip your toes in within the Web3 world at the minute, you're gonna come out on top. Like if I was to say anything, the only thing I would probably say to maybe avoid at the moment would probably be anything relatable to NFT or gaming. And that's purely just from a hiring perspective, is like those industries from my perspective is like industries that I haven't touched in the last 6 to 12 months just because there's not much market movement. Um, whereas, maybe other areas like anything relatable to DeFi or zero knowledge or deep in projects is where everything seems to be more attractive at the moment. It's a hard one for me to answer that, but that's my take on it. I hope that makes sense
Yeah, no, that's fair.
or helps.
That's fair. I sad to hear about that about gaming, because I do feel like there's quite a few like really good gaming projects like off the grid. And
Yeah, do you know what? And I completely agree. And I'm a gamer myself, and I love gaming, as you know. But from a recruitment perspective, it's there's not much going on. Honestly, there's not much going on. I used to do a lot in gaming about 2 years ago when I was in the space. I used to do a lot in gaming for like Cedify, Animoca brands. I used to work with a lot of the hot products in the space. But over the last 12 months, it's all for me been about DeFi, um, deep in projects, even DeSci now is becoming a big thing. Like gaming and NFT metaverse for me over the last 12 months has just taken a back seat. And for me that's telling on the industry.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this industry is run by narratives, and I feel like the metaverse narrative hasn't come back. I feel like crypto gaming last cycle was absolutely like bonkers, and this cycle it's picked up a little bit of traction, right? Like off the grid got picked up by like a lot of like mainstream gamers, like Dr. I think it was Dr. Disrespect, Tim the Tap Man, so on and so forth. It was like it was all the hype like for quite a bit of time, but then it kind of like the hype once again just died down. Yeah, it's sad, but you know, hey, like that's kind of like the consensus of like the space. That's kind of the narrative of the space. So hopefully in due time these narratives do get picked back up again, because I do think that they are extremely valuable. Any like avid gamer knows the importance of like owning your assets, like, you know, and like what that really means in gaming. So like for example, like your skins like in Warzone or something of that nature, right? It's like being able to like own that after you've worked so hard to get that skin or whatever it might be, that asset, that piece of armor, weapon. It's like, you know, you should be able to like own that asset. It shouldn't by any means like be taken away from you because like there's like a new season that's starting, you know. So yeah, anyways, I can go on a tangent about that. You know that I'm an avid gamer as well. So but yeah, hopefully those narratives pick back up. But no, definitely thank you for kind of like diving into that a little bit. um so you already talked about this a little bit, but how important do you think technical knowledge is when choosing like your niche? Like do you think that technical knowledge is important in this space? We already talked about this, but if you want to dive into it a little bit, feel free.
Yeah, so I think from a technical knowledge perspective, I think as you iterated earlier, like it's important, but it's not necessarily key, I would say. Like the most important thing I think about, and when I think, you look at this and finding a career is like, how do you stand out from the crowd? That's how I look at it. You know, although a lot of people don't think it and they think, this is a small marketplace, like competition is generally quite high in this arena, especially for entry level or non technical roles. Most app, well, that being said, most applicants aren't doing the basics well. If you want to stand out, then you need to shift from applying to attracting. And I go back to probably a similar thing here. The goal is to be visible, valuable, and vocal. I think I've just made that up there, which actually is
I
quite
love
good,
it.
like the three
Love it.
V's.
The three V's.
Maybe we can call it visible, viable, valuable, sorry, visible, valuable, and vocal. You know, and this is one thing that I've learned in this space a lot as well. Like, build in public, tweet about what you're learning, share research, create threads, videos, or sort of mini case studies, but be everywhere as well, because and this is one of the things again, that I've learned in Web3 myself as a recruiter, and I think things like this just they correlate across the whole industry. It's like, you need to be everywhere because there's no like one place suits all. Like one thing that I find in recruitment is that sometimes as a recruiter, or as most recruiters in the space, they'll just search LinkedIn, right? And for me, that's not the correct way to do recruitment in this space, because there's certain amount of talent that's not on LinkedIn. Um, and you need to explore elsewhere. And this is what I mean by, like, if you're looking for a job, be everywhere. Be on Twitter, be on LinkedIn, Farcaster is it, Discord. The more you engage, the more you learn, the more you become discoverable. But also tailor your approach as well. Like, when you're applying, reference the protocol's mission, product, and community. It could be suggesting improvements or showing insights. I had someone actually the other week who basically a candidate that I sent over, and they didn't have a huge amount of great experience, but I said to them that this is the client, this is the company, I'm going to send you over to them, and off their own back, without me having to do anything, they were a product person, and they just started. They emailed one of the founders and just started recommending improvements. They said, "Oh, we've got an interview coming up, and I've had a look at your product, this and that, and this is what I think you should do different, or X, Y, and Z. This is what I maybe would change." Obviously, nothing insulting. You have to go about it in the right way. But when the client come back to me, they were like, "This is fantastic. I've never had a candidate do that." And I was like, "Do you know what? That is phenomenal. That's going outside of the box." And I think like that's so important in this day and age. And whether you're in this Web3 industry or not, like thinking outside of the box is incredibly important. All too often in this day and age, everyone just applies to a LinkedIn ad and thinks that that's going to get them somewhere, and it's not. Even me as a recruiter, I've been at the company I'm at now for 8 months, and when I was searching for a job, um, I applied for hundreds of adverts, and I thought, how the fuck? Excuse my friend, excuse my language. I thought, how have I not got a job? Because my experience was like second to none. Um, and I got into this space far earlier than a lot of people did. But the fact of the matter is like LinkedIn in this day and age, or any other job advert in this day and age, will have hundreds and hundreds of adverts. And internally, the companies will go through them. But if they find 3 or 4 people within, let's say, the first 50 applications, their job is done. They don't need to look through the rest. Whereas it's probably different if you've applied for an agency, because an agency will probably be more inclined to go through the whole 100 because they want to find the best person. Um, so it's having that different approach. It's having that tailored approach, and you know doing something outside of the box, but also as well like start small. Not every contribution needs to be huge. Answering, being involved in communities and everything else, like answering a community question or fixing a typo on a website, builds goodwill. Um, some of the best candidates that I've seen never even applied for a job. They've just tapped in because of their online presence. There was one guy, what was it? He got hired into a role because basically of a Notion doc that he posted publicly reviewing a different wallet UX, you know, and that's exactly what I mean. Stand out from the crowd, do something different.
That's amazing. I love that. And I wanted to touch base on something you were saying too. You were saying like, make the threads, make the content, showcase yourself, be loud, be vocal, be visible. Um, but I think that you mean that not with AI, guys. Uh,
No.
I see this way too often where people come to me and they're like, I'm going to become like, I want to make content for you. And they share like the types of content that they have. And I'm like, listen, my guy, ChatGPT wrote that. Like if I wanted that type of
Mm,
content, I would just go to ChatGPT and have that written up to me in literally 2 seconds.
yeah.
So I deal with this as well, like on a daily basis. Like make yourself stand out, but not with
Yeah. Can I?
AI.
Yeah. Can I just highlight something on that
Yeah.
as well? Because um, naturally for me, as someone in this space where I work with different types of clients across different types of sectors. I don't know absolutely everything about every single industry within the Web3 space, right? If I did, I wouldn't be doing recruitment. I can tell you that now. Um, so naturally, there's certain postings or stuff that I do where I have to use AI, right, to get the source of the information, and that's absolutely fine. And I don't think there's any discredit in anyone doing that whatsoever. If you want to make a post or you're trying to be more social and make your socials more active, then fine. Like, in my opinion, go and use AI to do it. But my opinion on it is make sure you understand it. Make sure what you're posting, you read up on. Also, as well, like that you don't just copy and paste from ChatGPT and like you actually put it into your own words as if you're talking about it. Um, because if someone then all of a sudden a second later comments on it as like, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. Da, da, da. What do you think about X? Then all of a sudden you're stumped. So, don't get me wrong, I do use AI, but I use it from a research perspective and I use it to educate me. So if you're using it in the right manner, then I don't think it's like that much of an issue, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
no, I couldn't agree more. Like it's a tool. Like it shouldn't showcase your
Hmm.
entire personality. You shouldn't take it on.
It shouldn't replace your
Yeah,
job.
it shouldn't replace your job. It shouldn't be your identity. But it can be a great tool.
Yeah.
Like there's so much to learn from ChatGPT. I mean, you could just feed it your content, and then it could just rephrase the way that you've kind of like showcased that content. Like that you guys already know. Like I don't need to dive into it. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's definitely um, it's a great tool. And then with like LinkedIn too, guys, I was unemployed for about like 7-ish months, and LinkedIn, I decided to get LinkedIn Premium to just kind of like see what it was all about. And I was seeing that there was roughly like 3 to 5,000 applicants per job listing. And I was mind blown that that was kind of like the state of the market. So it's like, what I think that what Aaron is saying here is extremely valuable. Like, be loud, be vocal, be visible, do things that like showcase your passion about your niche. I think it sticks out so much more. Kind of like go above and beyond. You know what I mean? Like, well, for example, I'll give you guys an example. Like when I was getting hired to Bitcoin OS, because transparency is key here, guys. So they had asked me to do a task for them, and typically, you do a task. They'll ask you like a couple questions. How would you navigate this? Like, and you basically just answer them and send them like a document, right? I decided I was going to create a website. I used Notion to create a website of like my entire roadmap, how I would approach it, the different elements that tied into everything, and I do think that that played a pretty important role in like the hiring process as well. I do believe that that made me stand out because they asked for a pretty simple document from me, right? Like it was a pretty simple task, but I decided to kind of follow what's called the UPOD method. It's like under promise and over deliver. I think when you do that, it tends to actually make you stick out quite a bit. And I do think that it was part of like just part of the hiring process and how they decided to like how they ended up feeling about me. So definitely some good points there, Aaron. Um, Also, guys, I just wanted to share the today's secret code with you for those of you who are coming in from Zeely. Before we proceed, the secret code for today's task is Azza, AZZA. So you guys know what to do with that. It's on our Zeely. Everything can be found in our announcements channel on Discord. So just wanted to share that with you guys. And then also DeFi producer, I know your hand is up, my friend, but I just want to save like any kind of questions for like the end, just so that we can like get through like some other questions that we have here for Aaron. Um, so thank you so much for patiently waiting. Let's see here. I have a couple other questions planned. So I wanted to talk about like overcoming imposter syndrome, because it's definitely kind of hit hard in crypto, I feel like. Especially with how fast everything moves. It's hard to kind of like, keep up with
Hmm.
everything. How would you recommend that like people navigate imposter syndrome, like especially like as a candidate that's like applying to jobs in crypto?
Yeah, do you know what? I love this one as well because for me, like even now, sometimes like I feel like I'm an imposter. I'll give everyone a backstory here as well because I think it's like highly important. Like before, in between, I was in Web3 recruitment for about 5 years, and then I left my company. I was in the process of trying to join like a new company, and during that time period, I had a guy that interviewed me, and he completely destroyed me in this interview. Like the questions that he was asking me were just, in my opinion, insane. Like, as a recruiter, anyway, like they just it wasn't questions that I needed to know. It'd probably be questions that I needed to know as a trader, maybe, but not as a recruiter. Like I know how to find good talent. I know the space. I understand the space very well. That for an hour he absolutely belittled me, and I come away from this call basically thinking, shit, should I be in this industry? Is this industry right for me? When I told him about the fact that I was going to do a podcast, he laughed at me as well. Um, Secretly, I'm now sort of holding a finger up
What's
at him. I'll leave that
what's
to your
his name?
imagination.
Just asking for a friend.
Ah, no, no,
Happen to know his
I
address,
can't. I
by the way,
can't.
where he lives.
Yeah, no, I can't do that. Like, bless him. Like, he's probably even listening on this now. But yeah, honestly, it was insane, and I come away from that basically feeling like shit. I shouldn't be in this industry because I don't know anything about it. But the fact of the matter is that Web3 moves so fast. It's natural to feel like you don't know enough, and I learned this after that call, and this was one of the reasons I started the podcast, because I wanted to, learn more. I wanted to do more. I wanted to engage more within the industry. But here's the truth, right? No one knows everything about crypto. No one. Not Charles Hoskin, not anyone. It's a constantly evolving industry, and even the OGs feel behind at times. And that's a fact. That is a fact. And that is because we're in this industry where it's inevitable, right? Imposter syndrome is universal, in my opinion. Share, like I say, from my story, and what I shared about that is sort of has it all to say. The space is still early. Less than 5% of the world even uses crypto. So if you're listening to this conversation now, in my opinion, you're early. And action builds confidence, and that's one thing that I learned quite early on from myself. Start small, contribute, write, ask questions. The more you do, the more you realize that you belong in this space. You're not alone. Everyone here is learning. There's no shame in not knowing. Uh, and I'll give you another example. I did a podcast where I asked someone a question, and throughout this interview, they asked loads of rhetorical questions where I didn't have to answer, and they were answering those questions, and I was thinking, oh, this is great. But then there was one question that they asked me, and I was like, I have no idea what he's going on about. But but then he went on, and started to explain it, and I learned, and for me that's what it's all about. And we're all here in the same boat. We're all learning. You're not the only one, but you have to be only in it, not to be, to be willing to sort of try and learn. I talk to highly experienced candidates, even ex Google, Fang folks, who still say, I'm not sure if I'm Web3 enough. That fear is normal. But what matters is curiosity, contribution, and the courage to step in and make that difference.
That's great, my friend. I couldn't agree more with you on everything that you said. I do feel like imposter syndrome is completely universal in every regard. Like it goes outside of the crypto space too, especially when you're you're going through like the, the job application process, you're having interview after interview, you're, being rejected, or, you get to the final round of interviews only to kind of get ghosted by like the hiring manager, or even like what you said, like they ask you questions that really make you kind of like second guess like your knowledge, when you're like, wow, should I even be doing this? Should I even be, in this space? But that honestly goes with everything, right? To me, I would say don't listen to that negative voice in your head. Dial into your niche, really focus in on your passion, and let that be the focus of your energy. Let that be the focus of your mind, as opposed to like the negative thoughts that might arise, like especially during this like process. Because you will find yourself,
Mm.
like interview after interview, kind of like doubting yourself almost. It's so sad, honestly. It's such a difficult process, and like my heart goes out to anybody that's like looking for work right now, because it is not easy, my friends. Like the psychological like effects that it has as well is traumatizing. Um, Especially like in this extremely inflated economy, we're in a recession. I mean, the responsibilities that you all have, like, my heart goes out to every single one of you. Um, so just know that you're not alone in that. And I will also say to you guys, just so that, again, just transparency purposes, when I first started at Bitcoin OS, I was so overwhelmed, guys. I was like, I'm not even sure if I'm ever gonna get up to date with all the infrastructure, with all the tech. It's too complicated for me. It's like, I would be in spaces with Yago and David, and I'm like, oh, listen, you're speaking English, but I have no idea what you're saying. And that would make me like go into my head, and it would
Mm.
make me like, I'd be like, am I even fit for this job? Do I even know what I'm doing? It would literally make me question like all my own qualifications, all my skill sets, everything. And it's like, no, get out of your head. Look at truth. Always go back
Yeah.
to truth. Like always return back to truth. Go back to your heart and like genuinely like sit in that place, because those like negative thoughts are honestly not going to serve you whatsoever. But also do know that everybody pretty much like deals with it, no matter the industry. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So.
No, 100%. And I think that leads me on to probably the final piece that probably I want to say, or that I can say anyway, is and as you were sort of explaining there, Claire, is like mindset shifts to, go from curious to career ready is everything. Like, and mindset is everything. For me personally, like I'm a very spiritual guy, and for me mindset is life. Breaking into crypto isn't just about knowledge or skills, it is purely about mindset. The people who win here are, or let's say act like contributors, not job seekers. They act like contributors. They create value before being asked, and the opportunities will follow. And I have seen that firsthand myself. I've contributed to the space, um, with gaining absolutely nothing for it, but on the back end, I've contributed from that. You don't need permission, in my opinion. Like, Web3 is open, as we all know. You can start contributing to a protocol, or writing about a project or building something right now. There's no permission needed there whatsoever. And think long term as well. Like, don't just chase hype. Like, and it's difficult in this space because this space is obviously built on hype, but don't chase hype. Look for where you can build a reputation over time. The space, in my opinion, rewards consistency. And again, something that I've seen firsthand. Um, another final thought: networking. Networking is incredibly important in this space, and you can do it in so many wrong ways, but so many right ways as well at the same time. Like, network by giving. So reach out to people with genuine interest. Ask smart questions, share value, even if it's small, share value, but create momentum. I think like sometimes a lot of people forget about that. The more visible and active that you are, the more serendipity that you find. Um, and momentum is key in this space. And social presence for me is another key in this space. Like self branding is, or personal branding, should I say, is everything, especially for non technical roles. If you're looking for a role at the moment and you're not in the technical field, if you're not active on Twitter, if you're not active on X, if you're not active on your socials, then you're already behind. Be active. Talk about conversations, make your own posts, get involved in other people's conversations, comment on stuff like, because when you're hiring for jobs, that's what companies will look at. They'll look at how active you are and how engaged you are. This is a community driven industry at the end of the day. And this is what we need to remember. It's all about community. And if you're not contributing to that community, then you're miles behind. Like, and it might sound harsh, but um, I need to be truthful here, and that's the reality of it. Some of the most impressive hires I've made started by volunteering. One person offered for example, to help moderate community chats, and eventually became a full-time head of community. You know, what's the common trait there?
Yep.
They acted like they were already one of the team,
Yep.
and I think that's probably the best thing for me to leave it at.
Yeah, no, I'm on the same page as you. I love that you said consistency is rewarding in the space. It absolutely is, guys. Especially like on the community end of things. Just coming as the head of community to you guys, a lot of you do come to me and or just in general, like the experiences that I've had, people come to me and they try to ask for permission to like start like posting threads or creating content for Bitcoin OS, and I'm like, you don't need permission, my friends. Like you can take that initiative on your own agenda, and we see that like these types of initiatives speak volumes. When we see you guys helping out the community, when we see you guys answering questions, um when we see you guys contributing in a variety of different ways, not only just across like social channels, but also participating in the spaces, so on and so forth. Like consistency is extremely rewarding. And those of you that have been consistent with us very much know this. That's honestly great. Great advice, great tips there, Aaron. Like, thank you so much for honestly, thank you so much for being here. Like, everybody's learned so much, I'm sure. Somebody on Discord, Draken, he actually said, "Thanks for speaking on imposter syndrome." And the guy laughing at you for talking about a podcast, I'll fight him if he wants to. So we got your back, all right, Aaron. Just know that we got your back over
Love that.
here. You're part of the boss family always. You have been since the start. But we're kind of like coming to like a wrap here, so I did want to just like just bring on some of our community members here. If you guys have any questions, or if you guys just wanted to like make any contributions, you guys know, you're always welcome to come up to the speaker role and do so. DeFi producer, my friend, your hand has been up for since the dawn of time. So please go ahead. The mic is yours.
All right, Jem, Alien, Jen, Bitcoiners, Aaron, Norbert, good to be here. Yeah. So, actually, wow, I'm very true. This is the best Web3 Academy space I've attended so far. Well, very funny. Every time it keeps on becoming the best. Like every Web3 Academy is the best, but this one is actually lit because you guys actually talked about one part of Web3 that have actually been bothering me. But even though I still have a question though, I think it didn't really elucidate on that much, or maybe I didn't hear when I was talking about that. So my question is, when I got on board to Web3, right? They like the knowledge wasn't that available in the jobbing aspect. Like the DeFi knowledge was available, this was available, but in the jobbing aspect, especially when it comes to community management and moderation, the knowledge just wasn't available. I went to, you couldn't believe, I went to spaces I searched YouTube. The thing is not even on YouTube at all. It's not on YouTube. I just use Nigeria slang there, but it's not on YouTube. How to like set up a good community, how to get a lot of people onboarded. I was even a few days ago. I was even talking to, I think, Gideon and one other person like that. I was talking to them like, how in the world do you get people to join a community? How in the world do you do this? How in the world do you do that? So how do you get those people active? How do you get them engaged in a community? So my question to you is that when I have issues like this, how do I get, what's the source of knowledge to actually get practical experience, like practical knowledge of this kind of things, practical knowledge of the jobbing aspects. How do I access those informations?
Yeah, good question. Basically, the answer to that is just I want to say this in a nice way as well. Is just do it. Like, you know, if you want to build a community, or if you want to, I don't know, build a space or a profile or something that everyone's going to gather to, just do it. Like, start small and work out different avenues to try and get people into that. Like, the biggest thing for me in this space is like Web3 genuinely, and like I can't say this passionately enough, like, and you know honestly, it gets me emotional when I say stuff like this. Like, Web3 rewards self-starters. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Like, Web3 genuinely rewards self-starters. If you want to do something, if you want to build a community, if you want to grow a Discord channel, just fucking do it, in all simpleness, you know, and start small. Like, it doesn't matter if you fail. Like, don't worry about how do I do it, what do I do, or this, that, and the other. You'll figure it out. If you're passionate enough about it, you'll figure it out. There's obviously different methods and everything that you can take to try and grow these communities and everything else, but stop thinking about it and just do it is like my sort of take on it. And I don't mean to be harsh in that approach, but I think that's the reality of this space, and like I think that's where you see the most success in this space.
Yep, couldn't agree more. Just literally do it. Stop thinking about it. Just take the action that you need to, and the results will eventually come. Like, genuinely, the results will come. I know, like, a lot of you are here from like the Nigerian community, and you guys have a massive, absolutely massive community. And I know that you guys have created like sub communities part of that, right? Like the Decentralized Community Alliance. That's been growing beautifully. You guys have such a massive like WhatsApp group chat going. Like, I know that for sure. And like it's that's really what it takes, right? Like Aaron said, just do it, take the action, stop thinking about how can I do this? How can I do that? Just start small, and eventually you'll like learn along the way. I think that the space is like very forgiving with that. Um, so that's a absolutely great answer there, Aaron. Um, I did want to give the others a chance to speak as well if they had any questions. Aris, welcome to the speaker role, my friend. Did you have any questions? That's all good. That's okay. We get crickets sometimes. That's fine. That's all good. I won't take it personally. Vicky, hello, my beautiful friend. Welcome to the speaker role.
Yeah, G-Boss Alien, G-Boss everyone. Yeah, because that's what we say here. So, my question is talking about
What's it going on?
as sorry. Okay,
Aris, do you mind muting your microphone, my friend? Go ahead, Vicky.
okay. So, yeah, what I want to ask is if you are seeking for a job in the Web3 space, right? Like, which is more advisable one? Is it your personal portfolio, maybe like your X account or your LinkedIn account, like building your brand, or having a soft resume, like a PDF or something? Because coming from Web2, the first thing they will ask you is that, yeah, let me see your resume, let me see what like the things you've done so far. It's only like a few of them that will want to ask for your like your Twitter account or LinkedIn account or all of that. So which one should I like really prioritize more? Is it like, okay, normally here your X account or maybe your LinkedIn account is like your resume, right? But I just want to like, I don't want to make assumptions on that. I want to be like very, very clear. Should I put more energy in creating content, building my home brand, or I should channel that into like creating maybe a PDF format of what I've done before? So yeah, thank you.
Aaron? Or actually, can you guys hear me? Yes?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I think maybe Aaron is rugging here. Earth to Aaron, are you there, my friend? That's fine. All good.
Can I ask my question now, please?
Oh, hold on a second there, buddy. Just kidding. But if you could just wait 1 second, so we could just like go from like one person to the next. I just wanted to like keep it organized, my friend. Thank you so much. I guess we're gonna have to wait for him to come back to answer that question. But Vicky, do you want to like repeat that just one more time? Maybe that's something that I can answer for you in the meantime.
Okay, yeah, sure. I said, right, even jobs, okay, to me very well, like in job interviews. The first thing,
Um, I think either you're rugging or I'm rugging. I'm not sure. Can anybody
okay,
help with that? Norbert?
uh,
No, Vicky is
Vicky's
rugging,
rugging.
not you. Sorry about that.
Oh man. So
yeah,
Vicky, you're
let
saying
me
should
just change my
you
Always,
location,
always
right?
at the end.
always at the end,
I
man?
think, I think it's better now.
Yeah, it's better now, Vicky. Do you want to rephrase that? Vicky?
Okay, can anyone hear me now?
Yes. You're good.
Hello.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. So my question is that when you are searching for a job, right? Especially coming from a Web2 aspect, the first thing they will tell you, or most of these, maybe recruiters or job coaches, what they will tell you is to work on your resume very well, like the physical, the soft copy. You understand, like all these PDF formats. Then the social media and some of your online presence is mostly secondary. You understand, like the primary thing they want to see is, oh, let me see your resume, let me see some of maybe the certificates or some other things you've done so far. So now I'm asking, in Web3 now, should I pay more attention to just having a soft copy, or to my brand itself, maybe like X or LinkedIn page? Should I channel more energy in, okay, right now I am a writer and like I love to speak in spaces and manage communities, right? Should I have all of that in maybe a PDF format, or I should put more energy in working on my portfolio, maybe like my X accounts? That's what I use basically. So like coming from a recruiter, because from what I've had so far is that, yeah, in Web3, your resume is typically your account, maybe your X account or your LinkedIn account. That's like the common saying here. But I just want to clarify from him as a recruiter, if I'm getting like an interview, what really prioritize more? Is it my account, like the kind of content I've put out so far, the kind of things I've engaged with, or it will still be requested that, yeah, let me see, how many certificates do you have? How many? You understand? Yes, that's just what I want to clarify.
I got you.
Yeah, thank you.
I got you. I got you. Thank you so much. Aaron, I know you were rugging. Did you get that question, or do you want me to just like quickly repeat it to you?
Yeah, no. Can you still hear me? Okay.
Yes, you're good now.
Hello. Cool. Yeah, sorry. The room I'm in, I've had to move because the office I'm in is closing. So hopefully you can still hear me all right. So sorry, just to clarify, you mentioned about social media and everything else, or what was the alternative in that?
Just getting a PDF, this having your resume in soft copy, without this
Right.
professional
Yeah. Yeah.
background where you've worked, all of that
Yeah. Okay.
kind of things you submit in Web 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. No. No. I get it. I get it. In the question that you're basically asking, like social media presence is like more valuable than any PDF or one pager can ever be.
Yes, exactly. Like which one
Um,
should I put um more
oh,
priority
so,
on?
so so social media priority, 100%. Like in this day and age now, do you know it's funny because I look at it as I'm from a generation. I'm 34, so before social media even began, I was like in school and everything else, and then there was no social media, and then as I grew older, social media became into play, and everyone was focused on followers and everything else, and then when I got into work, when I initially got into work, social media was irrelevant. It was like, oh, you need to call this person, you need to do that, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And then all of a sudden now I'm back in an industry where social media is everything. Like in my opinion, like your social following and your social presence is so much more important than you can ever imagine. Whether you're a developer, community manager, you know, growth officer, whatever it may be, like in this space, social presence is important. So, in answer to your question, my advice would be to still get your one pager and your PDF correct, but focus on your social presence.
That's fantastic, Vicky. Hopefully that clarifies things for you. And yeah, honestly, couldn't agree more, Aaron. I think that building your personal brand is pretty much everything in this space. It definitely makes you stick out. It's kind of like giving yourself like social proof almost. Um, but yeah, thank you for answering that, and glad you're back. I know you were rugging. So, Aris, if you are there, my friend, the mic is yours.
Good day, everyone, and special greetings to our resource person. I just want to ask a question. What are the basic general knowledge required to get a good crypto job to excel and perform excellently? And also, let's say perhaps after getting this job, from the resource person personal experience, will you advise to stick to be a one-way man person or to be diverse? Like, let's assume I'm a community moderator now. Should I stick to that and be the best version of myself on that area, or I should try to navigate across to any other available job? Thank you very much. Can you get my question, please?
Yeah, you're good, Aaron. Did you understand that
Yeah.
one?
Yeah, no. So, my advice would be to, firstly, not don't I wouldn't diversify yourself too much. Like for me as an individual, diversifying myself is obviously incredibly important. As a recruiter, I need to work across industry, but I think you've got to look at it strategically, like in terms of the areas you're trying to work in or what you want to get involved in. But as I said, sort of quite early on, like pick an area and specialize in it.
Okay.
Yeah, and just specialize in it because you need to specialize in that particular area. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Thank you very much for that. I'm so grateful. But you are yet to answer my first question. The general basic knowledge required to get a very good job and perform excellently.
Sorry, say that again.
So the basic general knowledge required to get a very good crypto job and perform excellently.
That's a difficult question to answer, right? Like, I can't advise anyone to have a basic or general knowledge, like, because as I said before, like, you've got to have passion for the space. And if you have passion for the space, then you've got that basic and general knowledge. Like, I don't want to advise anyone on a certain level of knowledge to get into this space because if I'm doing that, then I'm not advising the right people to get into the space, if that makes sense. You know, if you've got a passion and you're massively interested in this space, then you've got that general knowledge.
That would be a driving force, right? I understand what I'm saying. Thank you.
Thanks, Aris. Appreciate you. That was a good question for sure. And let's move on to the next person here. Actually, we did have two questions come in the chat. Aris, if you don't mind muting your microphone, my friend. One question was Juju asked, does Aaron think it is possible to have a job working in DeFi but contributing with art and design? Is art exclusive to NFTs?
100%.
Amazing.
Yeah, sorry, 100%. 100%. I think, you know, yeah, do your thing in DeFi, but then if NFTs and art is your passion, go for it, man. Like for me, like I'm all about art and design. Like I did a university degree in it, and then now I'm in sales. But you know, here I am in this day and age, designing my own websites and this, that, and the other. Like you can still do your passion, but have a career in something else for sure. I think that's more of a life question rather than an industry question. 100%, you can still operate in DeFi and continue your passion, and you know the benefit of that as well is like because of like it being NFT related and everything else is that one day or maybe even in the near future it can cross over. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think doing everything through passion is absolutely key. Otherwise, you're kind of like setting yourself up for I don't want to say failure, but let's just say like short it's going to be just short term like gratification, I guess, until you realize, hey, this isn't necessarily for me. So couldn't agree more that especially in this space, like there is a niche for everybody. So just being able to dial into your niche, dial into your passion is pretty much like all you need to do. And there's room for everybody here, there's abundance for everybody here. Before we get to Cointree, we did have another question that came up as well from Emmy. Emmy said, um, Aaron said something about stop applying, start attracting. How do you attract? For example, creating stuff about different aspects of Web3 gaming, content out your niche community manager, mod, advisor. Content getting traction is another thing. Those contents need to get viral to get to those people. So ultimately, the question is, how do you attract?
Yeah. So firstly, I wouldn't say stop applying and attract. You know, still apply, but also when you're applying, like think outside the box. This is what I say to the same thing to anyone in the industry and in any industry. You know, I've got a friend who's a carpenter actually, who the other day said, "Oh, I've applied for so many jobs and I'm getting nothing." I'm like, "Well, how are you standing out? Like, are you just applying for jobs and then expecting a miracle?" And I think it's the same across any industry you're in, whether you're in Web3 or whether you're a carpenter. Like, make sure you stand out from the crowd. So, firstly, don't stop applying, but think of how you can be outside the box. And this is a big lesson that I learned when I left the job that I was at for 5 years and, you know, tried to search for a new job. Like, I had the perfect CV, you know, not being big headed, but I had the perfect CV for Web3 recruitment. I probably had the most experience as anyone in the industry. And I was applying for jobs left, right, and center, but I got no response. And it wasn't because of my experience or my skill set, because if anyone had actually taken time to look at my CV, then they'd have jumped at the opportunity because I'd have had most experience than most. But the problem is in this day and age is, you know, you get an advert on LinkedIn or an advert on anywhere. When you apply for a job, an internal recruiter, and this is a fact, an internal recruiter only takes 30 seconds to look at a CV. So how can you make yourself appeal to that job role you're applying for within 30 seconds? And if you're not doing that, you know, and let's say you're the 100 application that's applied, if an internal recruiter is looking at these, they'll look at the first 10. If they get 5 candidates out of that first 10 that fit the mold, then they'll put them through and they won't look at the rest, just purely because they don't need to, because they've got 5 CVs that already match. It's different from an agency perspective, because if you're a recruitment agency, you're going to look through them, because as an agency recruiter myself, you want to find the best person for the job. It's not a case of necessarily filling the job at the quickish. It's finding the best person. So, an agency will take the time to go through them, but an internal recruiter won't. So if you're applying for an internal role, if you're just going to apply for a job and you see on there like 100 people applied, you're wasting your time. So how do you think outside of the box in that respect? And sorry, what was the second part of that question, Claire?
Honestly, I think you covered it. You pretty much covered the entire thing. So.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay. Cointree, I think you came up because you had a question in the AMA questions channel. I was going to cover that, but if you'd like to ask now, feel free. Cointree?
Givos, everybody. Can you hear
G
me?
Boss, my friend. Yes, we can hear you. Hello?
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here today. I would like to thank Aaron because he has said so many things. Um, he said breaking into crypto is not about your skills, it's about your mindset. Momentum is key, self branding is
Cointree?
everything. Be
Sorry,
active.
my friend. Do you mind moving to like another room perhaps? Because the background noise is extremely loud, if that's possible. All right. Yeah, let's just wait a moment here for him to come back and then we can proceed. Guys, yeah, if you come up as a speaker role, please make sure that the background noise is minimal. Otherwise, we really struggle to
Sorry,
hear you. Thank you, Cointree. Appreciate that, my friend.
sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very sorry for that.
That's okay.
So, firstly, I would like to thank Aaron for everything he has said today. He has been very enlightening. He talked about breaking into crypto. It's not about skills, it's about most times your mindset. He said momentum is key, self branding is everything, be active, consistent, rewarding. Web3 rewards self starters. And I'd like to thank him for um, everything he has said today. Yeah, I have two questions. The first one is what are the things that are necessary to be in your CV, your resume? Like what are the necessary information, the most important informations you should have in your resume? That's number one. Number two is what are the necessary technical skills um, that is needed to have to become a recruiter in Web3? Like if you want to go to the level of being a recruiter for any project you work for? Like, what are the necessary skills in Web3 you need to have? So those are my questions.
Yeah, great question. So there's an interesting part to this, right? And you mentioned about CV. In all honesty, you don't need to have a good CV. If you're active enough in the Web3 space, if you're active enough on X, if you're active enough on socials and everything else, your CVs are relevant. I've placed so many people recently where I haven't sent their CV. I've just sent their X account or whatever else, and then I've set up a conversation, and then it's flowed from there. So CVs in the Web3 space for me are becoming more relevant because someone's social profile sort of says it all. Especially if you're on LinkedIn as well, because your LinkedIn basically is your CV, right? In terms of giving your background and experience. The problem is like not everyone's on LinkedIn in this space, especially from a development perspective. Although I think they should be, because I think they're missing a trick. But that's another sort of whole couple of hour conversation. So firstly, I would say that, and then secondly, in terms of like if you are looking at your CV and how to structure your CV and highlight your CV to this industry is like, just be transparent. You know, if you want to get into this space, tell people what you've done. Don't be afraid to say what you've done and like promote it. And this goes back to imposter syndrome for me. And I felt this as well. Like when I've looked at jobs in the past, is like, you know, sometimes sometimes people, and especially in the Web3 industry, because people do stuff on like a freelance basis, or you know, it's not a full-time permanent position, but they're doing this here and this there, and they think, oh, you know, that's not a legitimate thing to put on my CV, but it is. You know, if you're doing something in this space, if you're contributing to this space, put it on your CV, make it known. That's my advice.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Aaron. Hopefully that answers your question, my friend. And Aaron, I just wanted to check in with you. Like, what's your time looking like? Do you have any more time for a couple more questions, or do you need to head out?
No, I'm good. I'm stuck in a cafe, so as long as you can hear me, I got chucked out of the office because they close at
I
6 o'clock in the UK. But I'm still good to speak if people have questions. I want to help where I
Okay.
can.
You're amazing. Thank you. Literally the superhero we didn't know we needed. I think Norbert, you're heading out, my friend. So always good to have you on the space. Couldn't contribute this time, but hopefully next week we'll have you again. Um, but before we get into Gideon's question, I did want to ask, like somebody asked, is it advisable to try all niches or to just stick to one? You already kind of covered that, but feel free to give like a TLDR response.
No, yeah, I would say definitely test the waters, especially if you don't know. And it's a difficult one to answer that because naturally most people know where their niche falls. But that being said, I get that question because I don't have a niche. I just, you know, for me, I just recruit and I recruit in Web3, and I love all areas of Web3 and the technology and everything else. Like, there's no preference from my side. Um, that being said, again, I'm naturally sort of rolling into and flowing into the Bitcoin ecosystem rather than sort of any other area. So my advice is do it. Test every ecosystem, every different area. You know, find out what you'd like, find out what suits you. And again, this rolls straight back into passion. Find out what you're passionate about, and you'll only find out what you're passionate about once you've explored all areas. And once you've explored all areas and you know what you're passionate about, then go all in on that area.
That's amazing. I couldn't agree more with that. You know, even with me, for example, I always tell people, I'm like, act as a sponge, guys. Act as a sponge. Literally try out every single niche, dabble into a little bit of everything because you might find that you've found passion in something that you previously didn't think otherwise, right? Like for me, it's kind of like the technicalities of like with Bitcoin OS, like I love the infrastructure. I'm obsessed with the infrastructure. I'm obsessed with the tech. And I've been doing everything I can on my end to like learn as much as I can about it, but that wasn't previously me. You know, I wasn't previously interested in the infrastructure and interested in technical intricacies like that. But I've found myself developing like this newfound passion because I've allowed myself to like act as a sponge. I've allowed myself to like let this information flow in. And as a result, I've seen that I'm very passionate about this now. So I couldn't agree more. I think yes, try all the different niches, try everything, dabble into everything. Like Aaron said, run a testnet node, run a node, try like even with us, like mess around with our testnet bridge, see whether or not that's going to belong to your niche. um, there's so many different niches in the space, so definitely don't restrict yourself to just one, but like Aaron said, follow your passion. Like your passion speaks truth. So thank you so much for asking that, John. Great question. Also, for those of you who have asked a question in the space, please go to the AMA questions channel on Discord and make sure that you pop your question in there so I can give you guys XP towards Zeely as well, because I want to incentivize you guys for participating. So thank you so much for that, my friends. Now, Gideon, you've been waiting forever, my friend. You've been in and out of the space. Glad you're finally here. The mic is yours. Gideon? Crickets in the chat again, guys. I think he's probably rugging, to be honest. That's totally fine. Let me just bring up a couple more people as a speaker then, because you have more time, Aaron, which again, the superhero we didn't know we needed. Ah, Gideon, you're here. Welcome. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Your mic is kind of it's kind of like muted a little bit.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's much better.
Oh, it seems as if I was like immediately mentioned my name, like I was like rugging with it.
That's okay, my friend.
So so I have a few questions. I have few questions. I've been hearing the recruiter speaking. So I've got some few questions I have had in mind for a while now. So because I wanted to ask, what are the mistakes like you people do? Like, as a recruiter, it might notice all these things. What are those mistakes that people do when applying for jobs like three jobs like this? And because I often see some people like what makes people disqualified and what make people qualified. You understand? So I don't know if there are other stuffs like they recommend than the normal. I don't know. I don't know how to put it. You understand? I need to know these qualities, like these things that the recruiter prioritize more when
Yeah, no, I get.
you get,
I think I get. I think I get your question.
yeah.
There's two sides to this, right? So, firstly, from a client's perspective, what could potentially disqualify people is people that come from an enterprise background. So if you're coming from, like, let's say Microsoft, and you're trying to get into the space, then I think you're instantly discounted compared to other people because you're working in a massive corporate environment. You haven't got used to that startup environment, fast changing environment. And that being said, it is different for certain people. So I've placed people that come from Google, but within Google they've worked for a small team that's done X, Y, and Z. So as long as you can showcase that, it's fine. So that's probably one element. The other side of it, and I suppose actually that leads on to then sort of the next side in terms of like where people benefit very well. The people that do well in this space and that typically tend to do well through me are like self starters. People that have like, and I've said this as sort of earlier, like Web3 rewards, self starters. People that have done their own shit, managed their own stuff, because this is a startup space, right? You know, I'm a recruiter in Web3, but I can't just be a recruiter. I have to be a marketer. I have to manage a community. I have to, be a social media expert, everything else. And it's the same across the space. Whether you're a developer or community person, founder, marketer, whatever it may be, like you have to be able to wear multiple hats and you have to understand the startup industry within the space.
That's a great answer, my friend. Gideon, does that answer your question? Sorry, can you guys hear me? Hello? Can you guys hear me?
I
Okay.
can hear.
All right. I think he's probably rugging again. Um, that's fine. All right. Well, let's just do two more questions here, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, Aaron. It's been so appreciated. Once again, the superhero we didn't know we needed. Vida, welcome to the speaker role, my friend, and then we'll move on to Olab Pay, and then end the space from there, my friends. So Vita, the mic is yours. Welcome. It's the first time I'm seeing you come up to our spaces. It's good to have you. We're excited to hear from you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. You're right. This is my first time on the Bitcoin OS space. Hi, Alien. Hi, Aaron. Hi, Cointree, Gideon, everyone on the speaker role, and the amazing listeners. So, I have a question. Been listening for a while, and thank you, Aaron, for all the insightful tips you've dropped. I heard when you answered, is it Vicky, when you talked about the the resume and the social media presence part, you said it not like the resume is not important, but if for your social media presence should you would prioritize social media presence more than a resume or some sort of. So my question is for someone who has an X account but does not have a LinkedIn account, as a recruiter, would you recruit that person? The reason I ask this question is because I have tried to build my LinkedIn for a while now. I've lost 4 accounts. Each time I try to build a LinkedIn account, I was told it's because you know, I don't know, a lot of factors could contribute to that. I have made my research on that, and even though I'm yet to, set up another one, I want to know if it's necessary or if I should just focus on X. So, considering the fact that I've lost 4 accounts, not even going to be easy to build. Just maybe when you answer the question, I would know if to like try again. You know what I mean? So, if you have someone who applied for a job and has an X account doing well or doing pretty well, but doesn't have a LinkedIn account, would you recruit that person? Yeah.
Sorry, so just to understand that question, um, would I hire someone who doesn't have a LinkedIn account but has an X account?
Yeah, exactly. Would you hire someone who has an X account?
Oh,
Oh,
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this space right now, so
I
I
think
hire an incredible amount of people that don't have an X account. Oh, sorry, a LinkedIn account that have an X account. And it's one of the best hiring strategies for me as an individual to my clients because in this space, all too often, like recruiters just look on LinkedIn and they don't look on X and everywhere else. So LinkedIn isn't the be all and end all. But that being said, in my opinion, I would advise everyone to go onto LinkedIn because I think a lot of individuals and also companies are missing a trick if they're not on LinkedIn. Like if you're not on, in my opinion, in this space, like the two most social platforms that, or sorry, three most social platforms that you should be on is Discord, X, and LinkedIn. And if you're not active on all three of them, then I think you're missing a trick. That's my advice.
hopefully that answers your question, Vita. And welcome to the Bitcoin OS community, my friend. It is so good to have you. Hopefully we'll see you on next week's space as well. We try to always, bring somebody up or have some kind of like good, solid, informative, educational topic to share with you guys. So thank you so much for that question. It was a good one. I'm sure that provided clarity for a lot of our listeners here. And then Ola Pei, welcome to the speaker role, my friend. The mic is yours. I believe you're also a first timer here. It's good to see you and good to have you. Yeah, we look forward to hearing from you. The mic is yours. Yeah, I think I'm done playing the crickets today, guys. Ola Pei, my friend, are you there? Are you with us? Earth to Ola Pei.
Is that a cricket?
Thank you. I need to make a soundboard out of your noises, Aaron.
Sorry, sorry.
They're very interesting. All right. Well, if Olape isn't there, let me see here if we got one final question. So, yes, we do have one final question. Actually, sorry, Intelligent. Yes, my friend, I'm so sorry I missed you. Welcome to the speaker role. We love having you as always. Love hearing everything you have to share. You're a very intellectual being. Love having you. The mic is yours.
Hi, um, G-Boss, everyone. Um, it's been a while I've been on the space. I've really missed it. Today I was like, I have to be here, and I'm glad I'm here. The amount of knowledge I've received is it's incomparable. So thank you guys. So to not waste much time, I just got I have a couple of questions. First one would be so for someone who has a huge background in Web2 or probably basically traditional job roles, making a switch to Web3 sometimes prove like really difficult. You get cases where, as much as I know that, for me, I believe these skills are transferable. I don't know if employers see it the same way. So my first question would be, how do Web3 employers view candidates without crypto experience, but with strong Web2 transferable skills? Um, is it, do they keep an open mind in general based on your experience, or do they feel like those skills do not apply to Web3? My second question would
Yeah,
my second question would be
yeah.
okay. Let's just do
Yeah.
one at a time. Yeah.
Let me start with that one first. So, firstly, so I wrote an article about this. If you look at, or if anyone looks at my LinkedIn page, I wrote an article about transition from Web 2 to Web 3, because it's very different from if you're from a technical background to if you're from a non-technical background, right? So if you're from a technical background, it's a little bit harder because you can't just say, "Oh, I'm a Java developer. I can code in Rust or Solidity and do this and do X, Y, and Z. I can do zero knowledge proofs and everything else." You can't do that. So in that instance, you have to prove yourself. So how do you prove yourself? So you get involved in DAOs. You do some open source projects on GitHub. And also, like, my biggest advice on GitHub is when you're developing something on GitHub, like, develop something cool. Don't develop something that's forked. Develop something that's like that you've developed and that's cool and that people can look at and be like, "Fuck me, this person knows what they're doing." Um, and be that differentiator from that respect. So that's from a technical perspective, but from a from a non-technical perspective, then if you're looking to transition from Web 2 to Web 3, then again it comes back to social activity. How active are you on the social media? Promoting certain ecosystems or areas that you're familiar with or like, or if you're a designer, are you creating any prototypes or playbooks in and around designs for certain products? Again, it goes back to that same saying that I said earlier. It's like activity. Like, if you want to get into this space, be active. you know Again, like, I never got paid. I still don't get paid to do this podcast. I do it because I love it. But you got to do stuff um that you love and not get paid for, and that's how you got to envisage it.
Love that. Hopefully that answers your question,
Okay.
Indulgent. I do want to
Yes,
say,
that answers
Does
that.
does does that, does that answer your question, or can I elaborate on that more?
Okay, so that answers my question to a certain extent. However, I wouldn't mind if you could throw more light on it. I get that
Yeah, please do.
if I'm coming into Web3 from Web2, that means I have to visually or look for ways to showcase my abilities. But okay, so let's say someone like me who has a background in customer success management, copywriting, virtual assistance, that has been my Web2 background, right? So how do I
Perfect.
prove, how do I showcase those abilities in Web3?
Yeah.
Or how do I
Do you
prove
know
that they
what?
are
Perfect.
transferable? Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. So, do you know what? I love the fact that you've said that. So, firstly, as an example, like Claire is my example for this. So, Claire didn't have much Web3 experience, but she was an absolute alien in Web2, community growth and social media, and her stats were just undeniable, right? So firstly, like, it's that. It's like, what's your background right now? Like, what's your experience right now? Like, can you turn around and say to someone, I'm shit hot in what I do? If you can turn around to someone and say, I'm shit hot in what I do, then fine. Secondly, to that is, you don't need the Web3 experience, like from the area you're coming from. You genuinely don't need it. Like, you just need the passion and the determination to run with it. Like, I've met some honestly incredible people that have no intelligence, and I mean no intelligence. And I don't want to name them because I'll be calling them out. But I've met people that have no intelligence in this space, but they fucking run with it and they've learned it along the way. But what they've done is that during their interview process, during everything else, they've shown their passion. And again, I might be a broken record here, but passion for me is key, you know. And you know what it also comes down to as well? Like, I talk about passion, I talk about, you need this, you need that. But ultimately, you need a fucking good recruiter as well. Because if you haven't got a good recruiter on your side, then you're probably suffering a little bit behind. Then you need to find someone that you vibe with, because you won't vibe with everyone, but you need someone that believes in you. If you get someone that believes in you, they will push your application forward.
Wow, that was amazing, Aaron. Absolutely amazing. Intelligent, I know that you might have like one more question, but I do want to get to one final question here, just because we're kind of like wrapping up here on like 2 hours. So sorry about that, but hopefully we can get that question answered from you some other time as well. I mean, feel free to reach out to Aaron. Guys, if you're not following Aaron, please give him a follow. He shared some crazy alpha today, and honestly, this is just round one. We plan on having Aaron around for another round as well. And he'll be around like in the near future too. So please give him a follow. Please show him some love and some support. We would obviously appreciate that so much on our end. Um, Ola Pay, my friend, just because you were kind of like rugging there, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to skip your question. We had one final question here from man, I can never pronounce his name. Hamdist, I think. He said, connection or networking is really important in securing a job in Web3. What are the ways to build genuine networking and connections? It's a really good question.
What's the way to build genuine networking connections? Do you know what? This is a question that I absolutely love, especially in this generation or in this industry. Well, in this generation and in this industry, like I experience this on a day-to-day basis, and my directors, like, they're like, oh, you're not speaking to this person or that person or everything else. But the best way to build genuine networking connections is just to be deep into it. deep into the trenches, like get into the Telegram communities, get into the spaces, get into the Discord channels, get into it all. And if you have, or if you can manage the absolute pleasure of meeting people face to face through those avenues, then you're winning. And that's an absolute fact. If you can meet people face to face through those avenues, you've won. In my in my experience in this space, you've won.
Yeah,
That's all I'll say on that, because that's literally it.
absolutely. Like if you have like any networking events, like any Web3 events in your area, go to them, guys. You will get a vast amount of knowledge. You will get a vast amount of connections. It'll be a fantastic opportunity for you guys. I am sure you have at least one Web3 crypto event that's happening in your area, but also like, in terms of like how do you actually like do that online? It's kind of like what Aaron said, guys. Join the communities, participate. Consistency is extremely rewarding. Just be consistent. If somebody resonates with you in the space, just keep showing up. Build a connection with them, reach out to them, talk to them. These things honestly speak volumes. Especially like on my end too. It's like I have quite a few number of community members that I speak to on a regular basis that I genuinely hold like true to my heart. Like I literally love every single one of you. I care about every single one of your livelihoods. And we stay connected on a regular basis. So it's like just find the people that resonate and honestly reach out to them, participate in their spaces, contribute to conversations that they're having, and once again, these things speak volumes, and consistency is extremely, extremely rewarding in this space. So yeah, I think that's kind of like wrapping it up for today's questions, to be honest. It's we're kind of hitting that 2 hour mark. Aaron, thank you so much for your patience, and thank you so much for answering everybody's questions, for dropping all this amazing alpha for all of us. We've honestly learned so much, and we're so like forever grateful for it. So thank you again. Much, much appreciated.
No, thank you. I just wanted to finish up on a couple of things. So, you know, firstly, just to sort of finalize what I'm explaining here. So, and to anyone that's following this spaces, like, feel free to reach out to me. That's trying to break into the industry. I'm always open to help anyone where I can, and Claire will vouch for that as well. Just but also as well, like, if you're looking for opportunities, like, there's so many good resources out there. You can look at crypto's job list, as Web3 careers, DAO House, which is DAO HAUS, work on chain, Twitter, LinkedIn, lists, everything else. um you know the final thing I just want to say, like, is there's never a better time to get involved in crypto. The space, it rewards curiosity, hustle, and heart. So honestly, like, if you're not into it now, and if you want to get into it, like, just make that move now. So yeah, but reach out to me if you need anything. I'm always here to help anyone. But thank you for having me, Claire. I appreciate it.
Wow, what a beautiful closing remark, my friend. Such powerful, beautiful words from you. Guys, I've actually pinned a very important post to the Jumbotron. So if you guys want to check out Web3 Insights, Aaron's podcast, I highly recommend doing so. Like I said, he covers a lot of important information in those in every single one of his episodes, and I think that you guys would find a lot of that information useful for your journey. So please do check that out. And again, please do follow Aaron. It would be much appreciated. Also, I do want to highlight that on Friday, I'm actually going to be hosting a Welcome to Bitcoin OS space. We have had over like 10,000 new community members in the last like couple of days. So I wanted to just host a space to talk about all things Bitcoin OS, answer some of your questions, talk about the Boss Stack, get into Merkle Mesh, get into BitSnark, get into the Grail, talk about our products, talk about what like some key important elements to why Bitcoin OS is extremely revolutionary and important in this space and what we're building. And then just get into some of your frequently asked questions, talk about some of the community initiatives that we're running so that you guys can get involved. Um, Community is extremely important to us, guys. We preach this in every single space. Community is the absolute backbone. If you do not have a strong community, if you do not have a community that believes in your ethos, that shares that same mindset and vision, you're going to struggle to get your product adopted, right? You can have the most amazing, innovative products, but if you don't have a community that supports you and believes in you and pushes forward with you, it's honestly going to be a struggle. So we see the advocacy that you guys have for us. We always appreciate your support in every way possible, and we want to incentivize that as well. So there's quite a few community incentives and initiatives that are going on. So on Friday, I will be diving into all that information so that you guys can get involved if you so wish to. Um, but yeah, guys, I will be announcing that information probably later today or tomorrow. So stay tuned, keep the announcements and notifications on our Discord, as well as our other social channels, just so that you stay updated. But let me just give a quick shout out to everybody here. Yes, Aaron, go
Just
ahead.
to, sorry, just to add to that as well. If anyone wants to do this again, or if the community demands it, then I'm more than happy to. I think maybe we should maybe try to create a little poll or something where the community wants to dive deep into certain areas of recruitment or whatever else it may be, because I'm more than happy to dive deep into certain areas or anything else that benefits the community as well. So anywhere that I can help, I'm happy to
Thank
contribute also.
you. Can you guys hear me? Sorry, my my microphone button was glitching out. That sounds great, Aaron. Yeah, this was obviously a very highly requested like episode. So maybe we can like dive into like different like elements, like you said, of this specific topic. So yeah, we'll put up like a poll. Obviously, feel free to DM us, guys, too. Like if there's any topics you'd like us to cover. I know that you guys wanted to talk about like some community things as well. So just honestly, just send over those recommendations. My DMs are always open. Always happy to hear your recommendations on any topics we should talk about as well. Because obviously these are mostly catered towards you guys. We want you guys to have the tools and the knowledge to navigate the space efficiently. So we really try to create those, just create some solid topics for you guys so that you guys can learn from it, and then apply it to your journey. Um, but yeah, guys, I just want to give a quick shout out to everybody that's here. Intelligent, shout out to you. Olab Pay. So sorry, my friend, you couldn't get to ask your question. Hopefully next time. Draken, shout out to you, my friend. So good to see you. Bagos, you showed up. You're here. Shout out to you, brother Ham Dist. Oh my God, you got to tell me how to pronounce your name, my friend, because I keep butchering it every time. Precious, so good to have you. DeFi producer. David, and the other David. Good to see you guys. Jason, our moderator, our favorite moderator. Gideon, so good to have you. Aris, so good to have you. Vicky, so good to have you. Red Frog, welcome back. Always good to see you in our spaces. Atrium Lab is in here. Shout out to Atrium Lab, doing God's work over there, for Cardano, the heart of Cardano. We got ICO Speaks. Shout out to you. Crypto Master, Crypto Bag, Matt. I see you in our Discord channel now. Shout out to you, my friend. Coho, shout out to you. You've been here the whole time. Justin, same here. John, The Gold Rush, Faladin, Bull Season, Cointree, Sam, Doc, G, Mix. We got Crescent. Shout out to you. I think that's one of our OGs. We got King of Doings, and then we got CZO Low, also a longtime community member, and Khalil. Shout out to everybody that's here, my friends. Like I said, like we always notice like the regulars. So quite a few of you are new to the space. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, we host these every single Tuesday at 4 p.m. UTC. It's always a different topic. If you guys have suggestions, like I said, please feel free to send them over to me. We're always open to any recommendations that you guys have. Once again, these are literally catered towards you guys. Um, So that's it, my friends. It's been an amazing space. Again, Aaron, thank you so, so much for this. It was absolutely fantastic. As always, guys, let's end this space on a good note. Play some Afro beats. We started this off.
Thanks for having
Yes,
me.
of course. Thank you. We started off with some EDM. Let's finish it off with some Afro pop for some good vibes. And then we will see you guys in the next one.
Damn. Mad, mad, mad. Afrobeat. Busy. Damn. Hey, stop. Joanna, you're busy, body busy tonight. Mad, mad. Joanna, making $100 tonight. Joanna, you're busy, body giving me life, oh, hey, life, eh. Why you do me like Joanna, Joanna? Why you do me like hey, Joanna, Joanna? Why you gonna do me like Joanna?
Shout out to you guys. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and we will see you all on the next one, guys. Take care.